Hey guys, it's Frank. Welcome back to my channel. I just want to start things off by saying Happy New Year, Happy 2023. I am also fully aware in the month of December, I didn't post a single video. My month of December has just been quite busy, but for a lot of good reasons that I'll be explaining in another video. Another thing that I want to highlight is I want to thank each and every single one of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. Like, I'm seriously looking at my channel right now, and it looks like I have just under 3,000 subscribers, which I know on hindsight compared to the larger YouTubers, it's peanuts. But in my eyes, I'm like, I can't believe like almost 3,000 you guys even want to like watch my videos about cities. So it's around this time each and every single year that I often reflect on my life. And you know, the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, it's been just over a year that I've now lived in Toronto ever since moving back here from Calgary. And I'm sure a lot of you guys might have this question of like, you know, how does it feel to move back here? And, you know, do I have any sort of regret moving away from Calgary and back over to Toronto? And believe me guys, when I stumbled upon this article highlighting the massive snowstorm that was going on in Calgary, I'm like, duh, like why would I have any regret coming back here from that? All right, in all seriousness, the short answer of it is I don't have any regret moving back over to Toronto from Calgary. And you know, there's some things that I do like about Calgary, just being that, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind about Calgary is its affordability. Like, I come here and my rent jacked up from $13.50 at the time to $17.50. So there was about a $400 delta between the two. But the astounding part of it is that, you know, looking at today's date and now looking at the market rates of rent and everything, it's surprising that my one bedroom in Calgary went from $13.50 closer to like $1,600. And right now in Toronto, because I locked in a unit, the place I'm living in right now, for $17.50, you know, there's not as much difference if I were to today just say, hypothetically, I'm going to pack my bags and move back to Calgary, just given rent there is almost just as high as I'm paying right now. Another thing that I noticed was back in October, November period where Alberta was pushing that whole Alberta is Calling campaign, there was even people in my own friend circle that was considering moving to Calgary despite barely even knowing much about the city. The funny part is I actually stumbled upon other YouTubers who made the move from Toronto to Calgary and somehow also moved back to Toronto. And when I listened to their videos, their take on it is very similar, where they said they made a move there because of like all the wicked ad campaigns that they're seeing and the affordability aspect. But oftentimes when they go there, they're like, whoa, I don't have much of a network out there. There's not much things to do there. And the big thing that they often highlight is their inability to find work immediately. Like, I had individuals even reach out to me on my Instagram being like, hey, I moved over to Calgary from so-and-so place, and for some odd reason, I can't find work despite me having like 10 plus years in a certain industry. I'm having difficulties finding work. Not to say I'm a genius, because I like to say I'm pretty dumb, but I had my fair challenges of finding work out in Calgary too. And with that being said, with notices, highlights, articles, news outlets highlighting a upcoming recession in 2023, being in Alberta may not be to your best interest. The thing about Calgary that I notice is that it's really appealing. I noticed that there's a lot of young adults that want to move to the city. So anywhere between the 30 to 40 range, I noticed there's been a lot of people who've been reaching out to me, and for a lot of good reasons. Like, take for example, if you're living in Toronto and you're paying like what I pay for rent, it's quite challenging to also tackle on a kid or tackle on your mortgage and all those other things. Another reason why I don't regret moving back to Toronto from Calgary is that I've noticed that your environment really sets the tone for your success. And you know, this is just my opinion, but I've noticed that when I'm in a city of Winnipeg, I find myself a lot more, you know, laid back, a little bit more easygoing in comparison to Calgary or even Toronto. I've noticed a difference in my mindset when I'm living in different cities. Like, even when I'm visiting Winnipeg compared to Calgary versus Toronto, I've noticed there's a like a shift in my mindset where I noticed when I'm in the bigger cities, like in Toronto, I noticed that my will to get things going, getting things done at a faster pace or just doing more, I noticed is accelerated living in Toronto versus when I'm in Calgary. Oftentimes a little bit more laid back. You know, it really just depends on like what your lifestyle is. Not to say one's better than the other, but I've noticed like even the small things of making YouTube videos. I noticed in Toronto, there's a lot, like I noticed I even have 1 or 2 friends out in the city who also are pursuing or doing YouTube videos on the side just as I am, versus when I'm living in Calgary, not a single person was making YouTube. In fact, I think there was only one cool story when I was in Calgary where I went to the mall, I think it was called Chinook Mall, and I was getting bubble tea, and I somehow got noticed. Like the person was like,
Frank, is that you?
And I'm like, do I know you? Like in my head, and they're like,
No, I saw your YouTube video.
like, don't get me wrong, I can tell about myself. Over the next few years, I know I'm gonna start dialing it down where I want to like have a more chilled life. Like the fact that even living where I am right now in North York compared to downtown, I find myself even in the next future, I'm like looking at places more in the suburbs just because like, I don't know, it's almost like I've been there, done that scenario. There is one thing that the Alberta, Calgary always will win, and that is the proximity to Banff, to the mountains, going hiking, and that's partly why I am actually going to Calgary in a couple weeks from now. In late January, I'm going to be going there, and it's simply put, I mean, there's obviously like other family obligations, but also I want to go hiking. Like I miss the snow on top of the mountains, the view when you're at the top of the mountain looking down. Those are money shots that you can never really get out in Ontario. You know, I kind of just learned that, you know, you can be living anywhere in the world. You could be in Nunavut for all I know. And as long as you have a good, solid core group of friends, family, it doesn't really matter where you live. There's one metric that you can always go by and that you can never really be upset about and no one can really fault you at. And that is how happy you are living in that city. So you could be living in Alaska for all I care. As long as you're happy, doesn't really matter. So, you know, there's always gonna be aspects of like affordability, things of that nature, your job. But as long as you're happy, hey, move to Calgary, move to Toronto, stay where you are. Doesn't really matter, guys. That's my lesson that I've taken away over the last 2 years. And so, do I regret moving back to Toronto? The answer is no. But I do see myself in the future definitely having a more laid back lifestyle. Starting to see it creep in a little bit, but who knows? But I just want to say thank you for each and every one of you who have been sticking around to like where I am right now with 3,000 subscribers. I always thought by this time I'd have like 10,000, but everyone knows I'm a little bit too lazy to be pushing out that many videos. But anyhow, with that said, guys, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and following my good old millennial journey. Now, expect a vlog of me going to Calgary in the next couple of weeks. I have some exciting job updates, life updates ahead of you coming up. So I guess I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.